Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. We're continuing in the fourth parak of Terumot in the Mishnah Yomi. So we are in parak Dalit Mishnah Gimel. This is a famous Mishnah. Shiur Terumah. What is the amount of Terumah? So it depends. Ayin Yafeh. If you have good eyes, meaning generous eyes, Echad Me'arbaim. It's 1 out of 40, or 2.5%. Beit Shammai Omrim Mishloshim. Beit Shammai says it's even 1 out of 30. We paskin actually like Beis Hillel that the generous is 1 out of 40. Habenonim, the average person, Michamishim, is 1 out of 50. Vehara, usually Gemara says Ayin Ra. Ayin Ra translated as stingy. Mishishim, 1 out of 60, 1.66%, 1 2/3%. So we're talking about that on average it's 2%, the very generous 2.5%, and the stingy 1 2/3%. On the hashkafic level, it's very interesting that our sages had 3 madregas, 3 levels of giving of truma, and it's a musar. If somebody is average, they should work to become above average. If somebody is a little bit stingy, a little bit reluctant to give, they should work hard to become average. That takes work. The Alter Rebbe in the Tanya explains that it's hard work to be Benoni, to be average. To be average actually does take work, and it should be appreciated that you need to bring yourself up to sort of normal average standards of the community, and that takes observation and action on all of our parts. Good, so back to the Mishnah. Taram va'ala b'yadei achad meshishim. If he was taking truma, now remember, truma could be taken by verbal designation, estimation, but here he's scooping out truma or removing one bucket or barrel or bottle of wine from the storehouse, whatever it is, how he's separating truma, and what comes out is 1 out of 60. Now, he was an average guy. He would lechatchila take 1 out of 50, but he took a bucket, and the bucket was a little smaller than the other ones, whatever it was, and it's 1 out of 60. So truma, this is valid truma. He's taken the minimal amount that our sages declared for truma, so this is valid. He doesn't have to add to it. If he's taken out this 2%, this 1 2/3%, he doesn't have to add to it to get to the 2%. Chazar v'chayosiv, if he says, I want to be an average guy, and he wants to add on, chayiv b'maisrot, this part he adds on, he has to take meiser from because it's chulin. It's not considered truma. Now, truma is pater from meiser. The 2%, whatever percent we see in this case, whatever he takes out as his valid truma, it's pater from the other meiserot. And you give it to the Kohen. The Kohen doesn't take meiser on it. The truma is actually pater. But here he took the minimal amount of truma already, and now he wants to add to it to be an average guy or even to be an above average guy. So that additional level, once he's taken the first truma, it's pater from meiser. Now, if he went and he originally took 2.5%, he originally took 1 out of 40, that whole thing is truma. We're talking about where he just took out one piece or one barrel, and that turned out to be less than the Ayin Yafa amount. It turned out to be 1 out of 60. That is valid truma. Good. Mishnah continues. All of biyado mishishim vechad. He scooped out 1 out of 61. So it's 1.6%. It's not even 1 out of 60. It's a little bit less than the minimal amount. Truma, so that is valid truma, and that makes dimua, must be given to the Kohen, chayiv v'chomesh, v'yachazir v'yitrum, and he has to go back and add on a little bit more truma, which will be mamish truma deraisa, to get to the minimal level, k'mosh lamud, as he measures, to get to his normal percentage, if it's 1 out of 60, 1 out of 50, 1 out of 40, but mida mishkal minyan. And he could even use a measuring device. We saw earlier we don't normally measure out the truma. We don't normally measure. We don't use a scoop. We don't use a seah with the half seah mark in it. He could do that to get to the pretty much precise amount to make sure he's over the minimum level. Rabbi Yehuda Omer afshalam minamukaf. He can even take not minamukaf. He can separate from the other side of the pile. Another pile that's not touching the pile that he's separating from, or the storehouse he's separating from, to get to the correct amount. Normally, we take from mukaf, from what's next to it. We separate from something adjacent was the word we use, the technical term, adjacent. So here Rabbi Yehuda says, he's just trying to add on to get to the minimum amount. We allow him to use even, not from a mukaf. Good. Mishnah Dalet. Omer l'shlucho tzayitrom. He said to his shliach, go and take truma. He's in the city and his field is out in the field. So he sends a guy out. He sends out the truma guy. Torim kedaito shel balabait. So the shliach should do like the das of the balabait, meaning he should take the percentage, 1 out of 40, 1 out of 50, 1 out of 60, that he thinks the balabait should do. If he doesn't know what kind of guy the owner is, he doesn't know if he's average or above average, below average, so assume he's a normal guy, 1 out of 50, 2%. But if the shliach did subtract 10 or add 10, meaning he took 1 out of 40 or 1 out of 60, instead of the normal 1 out of 50, the normal 2%, trumato truma. These are valid shirim of truma. But if he knows that the balabais is a normal average guy who does 50, that's the shita, he does 50 like a normal guy, and then he adds on, he takes 1 out of 49, and trumato truma. That's not a valid truma because he's not doing a shlichus. A shliach who changes the shlichus is not doing the shlichus, and since he's not doing the mission he was sent on, then he hasn't done anything because he didn't have permission to do it like that.